welcome back. It is 5:48 on this Tuesday morning. In your health news this morning, we are talking about calcium, the benefits of, and where do we get it from.
Absolutely.
Good morning,
and
Dan.
when you hear about calcium, most people think of getting it from dairy or cheese, but that's not necessarily the best source because
Right.
a lot of our dairy is highly processed now, and it's the cows are fed grain, and so there's a lot of issues with that. But there's a lot of other better places to get calcium. So, for example, people think if you're not drinking dairy or you're not drinking milk or eating cheese, then you're not going to have enough calcium. Well, my wife's been lactose intolerant for quite a few years. And her calcium levels are perfect. So she's not drinking the milk and she's not eating cheese. So that's definitely a common myth. But there's a ton of calcium, green leafy vegetables. So you have spinach is loaded with calcium, the mixed greens, kale right here. All these sorts of things are loaded with calcium. And then you also have things like,
Good to know.
like broccoli. That's a great source as well. And then you have the other things, the dried herbs, which a lot of people wouldn't think would add much calcium to your diet, but when you're cooking and you're making stir fries, that's an excellent way to do that. And then along with this, you said you just bought these chia seeds and you use those, and my wife, she'll throw those right into her shakes and that sort of stuff, along
Real easy to do.
along with flax seeds as well. So you have flax seeds that you can throw into your shakes too, and then raw nuts. Raw nuts are a great source of calcium as well, such as almonds.
That's wonderful. And talk about why calcium is so important for our
Calcium,
bodies.
we're going to talk about that specifically in more detail in the next segment, but calcium is very important for building strong bones. But it goes along, you need other things in your diet to absorb it. It's like vitamin D3 that you get from the sun, you need that in your diet. And vitamin K2 that you're going to get a lot from things such as spinach. But you need calcium in your diet, but you need to get it from proper sources. And they found that supplementing with calcium isn't the best way to do it. Whereas other supplements are good, but supplementing with calcium is not the best way. This is the best way to get calcium in your diet from these foods.
And how do you feel about like supplemental pills?
In supplemental pills, like I was saying, you can get some calcium from that, but sometimes it creates an imbalance. If you're taking calcium in your diet, you want to take it in a 1-to-1 ratio with something like magnesium.
Right.
You have to have the proper ratios. And so I'm not a fan of supplementing with calcium because a lot of people are over-calcified. They have too much calcium, it can cause heart issues and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
That's amazing. Over-calcified. No,
Over-calcified, yes.
You can't go, you can't get enough vitamin C, right? Your body will just
Yeah, it'll
that
pass
out.
it through. But calcium, I think you can definitely have too much in your system. It can cause some issues.
All right, we'll learn more about the benefits of calcium coming up in our next segment with Dr. Dan, but now we'll send it over to Ahmed. Dr. Dan, about the benefits of calcium and how we can go about getting it into our body.
Absolutely.
Good morning.
And when you think about calcium, most people think about building strong bones. And one of the leading causes of death in older people is from falling and breaking bones. So making your bones as strong as possible is one of the best things that you can possibly do to prevent these issues and breaking bones and going to the hospital.
Good
so
point.
in the first segment, we talked about not necessarily getting your calcium from dairy and the processed cheeses and that sort of stuff, but getting it from your fruits and vegetables. And like we said, my wife is lactose intolerant, no dairy, no cheese, none of that stuff, and her calcium levels are perfect. And so she's getting a lot of the calcium from these foods, the broccoli, the kale, the mixed greens. The spinach is a great source of calcium like we talked about. Raw nuts such as almonds, chia seeds, flax seeds, and then throwing in a lot of the dried herbs into your stir fries is a great way. Now, other things you want to do is you want to look at removing a lot of the processed sugars from your diet, the breads, the pastas, the rices. So over here we have, Triscuits, for example, such crackers that people would think, but they're processed carbohydrates. They turn into sugar, and what happens is those sorts of foods actually leach calcium out of your bones. So the more of this stuff that you have in your diet, the more fragile your bones are going to become. So the first thing is removing these types of foods from your diet and then adding in a lot of the calcium type foods. But with calcium, you don't actually absorb calcium into your body unless you have a few things. One of them is vitamin D3, which you can get from the sun. And so not going outside and getting burned, I know the last segment was about sunlight, going outside and getting sunlight in moderation to your skin tone is very important. If you're not going to do that, then supplementing with a vitamin D3 supplement is a great idea.
But no, if we're wearing sunscreen, will we still get vitamin D or no?
If you're wearing sunscreen, you're going to be inhibiting about probably 95% of that vitamin D. And so there's a happy medium going outside till your skin gets light tan, not getting bright red, lobster red. You want to go out and just get enough sun for your skin tone and kind of gradually build up. And a lot of people, what happens is they go outside and they're outside too long and they get burnt. That is a problem. But the other thing is taking a fish oil. Fish oils or eating salmon helps the calcium absorb and make your bones a lot stronger. And then another thing you need impact exercise to make your bones as strong as possible. So a lot of people, if they're not outside, they're not walking, they're not exercising, they're not getting the impact that their bone needs to actually absorb calcium in there.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, and so we're covering a lot of grounds here, but
Wow.
the point is get healthy calcium, get impact exercise, and also to work on eliminating a lot of the processed carbohydrates.
I think a good point you made is that it's not just in your milk and your cheese, and a lot of people think that.
Yeah, exactly. And calcium you can
A lot
find
of
in
people
a
don't
ton
even
of-
know there's calcium in broccoli. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so, like I said, a lot of people are overcalcified because they're supplementing and they're getting these calcified
What happens
things.
when you're overcalcified?
It can cause some calcification in your arteries or potentially your heart and cause some issues there, and
Wow.
even in your joints as well.
Interesting. Well, thank you, Dr. Dan.